And welcome to In-Game Chat for Saturday, November 23rd, 2013. This is Season 7, Episode 41. I'm Scott.
I'm Matt.
I'm Jeremy.
And I'm RJ.
And welcome to the show. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our phone number is 334-272-9228, 334-272-9228. You can find us on Twitter at In-Game Chat as well as Facebook, and you can email us, everyone, at ingamechat.net. We are streaming the cam feed right now through Twitch TV, and you can find us there as well as join in the chat room live while we broadcast. As you may have noticed, James is not here with us tonight, and due to work and that sort of thing, he is not going to be able to be with us for a good while. But we're going to try and have some way that during the week we can record some segments with him and then play them back on the live shows. But so we lose James, but we gain Matt. And if James was here, he would say we'd probably get cheated. But welcome back to the show. And
thank you.
Yeah, let me insult you and then welcome you back.
You've been just gone, like old times.
Yeah, really. You've been gone for a while, actually. And so you're back here for, I don't know, what, the holidays, I guess? You're going to be here for a while?
For a couple months.
And then you got to leave again, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's talk to you. How did you get your PS4 back?
I do. It's in the car.
So you've got it in the car right now?
Yes.
Well, you might want to bring that in since you just told a lot of people that there's a PS4 in your car while we're in the radio station.
I mean, it's at home.
They're Google mapping the studio as we speak.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. So have you opened it up, hooked it up, or anything?
Yes.
Yet? Okay.
I hooked it up. I haven't had a chance to hook it to a network to download the latest patch, but when I I picked up Need for Speed Rivals, and when I put that in, it patched it up to I think like 1.8 or something like that, whatever was on the disc. So I was able to patch it a little bit and play Need for Speed Rivals.
Well, and so so what else have you done, with the system at all? Just
That's
nothing?
it.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, the last time I signed on a little bit last night before I hooked up my my Xbox One, and I saw that your name was still not, you weren't designated as having a PS4.
Okay.
On the friends list at the time, from what I was looking at.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong on that. I didn't do any big investigation into that. I was trying to get my Xbox One set up and played, but
once I get home, then I'll be able to get online and download the patch and then set it up everything that way.
Yeah.
I picked up the camera even, so I'll be able to hook that up to the PS4 and play around.
I like the camera. I really do. You going to do some streaming? You going to try and do some of that?
I'm going to try to, yeah.
Okay.
It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, it is, and I did some of it again with Need for Speed. I streamed a little bit of Knack over the past week. I don't necessarily like Knack all that well, but I'm probably not the target demo for Knack.
No.
So, but I streamed some of it. It streamed pretty well. Got tired of playing it very quickly. The whole time I'm playing it, I'm thinking, really wish I was streaming Need for Speed. And so I stopped, and then I was like, I'm going to Need for Speed. Got into Need for Speed and streamed it. I put out a video earlier in the week, I think around Wednesday, talking about just, the system, my time with the system so far, and I'd made a statement that the connection was not optimal, was not great. Had a lot of the What's New feature that's on the dashboard of the PlayStation 4. Would never load. It would just sit there. Anytime you selected it, just sat there trying to load, but it would never load anything. I had a lot of disconnects from playing Need for Speed when I was online with it and also while streaming it at that point. However, that same day, they had issued a patch to the PS4. I think the 1.5.1 patch was released. I had not yet installed it or downloaded it or anything like that. After the video, I went and did that, and connection was much better.
Okay.
And has been so far. But I haven't played too much with it since then.
Well, the reason why I haven't no network connection, I had a friend pick it up for me last Friday because I was still out in Washington, D.C. area. And so they picked it up for me. And so when I went to by their place to pick it up, I just unpackaged it there and connected it. And so I didn't want to get on their network. And so I was just going to wait till I got home to do that. I just wanted to see what a game would look like real quick before I came over here.
Oh, okay. Well, it's in your car, so I mean, you could technically bring it and we could hook it up there. And we may not put the camera over there to show it off, but then again, we got a new camera, and the field of view is so huge, we can easily pick it up and have two screens on at the same time. So, but you actually might want to go get it out of your car.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Might want to do that. So you've got Assassin's Creed 4 and you got Need for Speed Rivals.
Yes.
Are you a PS Plus member?
I am.
You are? Okay.
I did that before I left the first time a couple months back.
All right, well then good. You've got
I have was it
Resogun?
Resogun. I think there's another.
Contrast.
That's right.
Yeah, Resogun and Contrast. So you got a good bit of games there to play. So what did you do while you were away? Did you have time to play much of anything?
I was on Steam mostly just because I brought my PC.
Right,
with me.
you didn't have a console with you, but you were on Steam.
Yeah, so I was able to get some, play some stuff there. I did Batman: The Arkham Origins. I played through that and beat it and had a good time with that and just.
How'd you like that? I know you say you had a good time with it, but overall, how'd you like it?
It felt, it was an Arkham game. I enjoyed it. It was interesting to see the city before it was trashed in Arkham City.
Mm-hmm.
So going through and
Some of it felt familiar, and
Yeah.
then also felt a little bit different, just because everything had built up.
I enjoyed it. The thing about though is it wasn't very much different from Arkham City in a way, where it just kind of felt like a reskinning to me. Like I'm doing the same kind of stuff, the same kind of moves.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I enjoyed Arkham City, so I'm not expecting a widely different game.
Yeah.
It's just more of the same.
Yeah.
So,
But you played through it and you beat it, though.
played through.
I like this story so much better than I did any of the previous two. It's close with Arkham City, just for I liked the payoff at the end of Arkham City.
Yes.
The build up to the end of that payoff was whatever, but I liked the payoff at the end of Arkham City. However, it's comic books, and they're really probably not going to stick with that payoff that they gave. But so long as they haven't done anything yet to it, it's up there in my top. But man, Arkham Origins is very close. Loved the interaction that they did with Batman and Joker on that one.
Yeah, when
Really
you're going
good.
through some of the Joker's mindset, that was very interesting.
Yeah, don't give too much away.
I'm trying
Don't
not
give-
to.
don't
I'm
give
trying
too
to be
much
very
away.
careful. But getting into his personality and his character, I thought was they did it really well.
Yeah, they did it. I don't know. I really, really, really liked that. Part of me feels like I wasn't supposed to, because it felt, a lot of people thought it was kind of just a cash-in type situation, but I don't look at it like that. I think it was a good entry into the series. I mean, I'm looking forward to whatever Rocksteady's working on, especially seeing what some of these systems can do and what some of these systems can't do. But
Yeah, so I played the PC, some Steam. I didn't have a lot of time to do a lot of things just because I was there for school, and so I had homework, a whole bunch, always going out and trying to get my schoolwork done.
yeah.
So,
Well, what are you looking forward to playing now that you're back? I mean, I know you got AC4 and you got
I
Need for
got
Speed
AC4,
Rivals.
yeah. I also picked up a GTA 5 for the PS3, and I haven't had a chance to play it yet. It's just been sort of sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
So, it'd be interesting to see how because I haven't even, other than what I've seen some videos on the internet, I haven't had a chance to see any of the gameplay.
Yeah.
And so it'd be, kind of interesting to go into GTA 5.
Got a lot of people asking in the chat room that they thought something was different. Is it a wider camera angle? I upgraded the camera to whatever the most recent one that Logitech has released, and it's a 1080p camera. The other one was just 720, and the field of view on this thing is gigantic. So you're seeing pretty much the entire studio. Normally, we would sit here and clean up the part that you would see and not worry about all the other stuff, but now you can see everything that is to offer in the studio. And you should know, this really isn't our studio. This is used so much more by other people here 5 days out of the week, and we get it one day on a Saturday. So actually everything you see in this room is not ours.
You're just saying we're not responsible for
We're
the
not
mess.
responsible for the mess. This is exactly what I'm trying to say. So anyway, it's been a week. Boy, has it been a week.
So there was something we were supposed to be doing that we're not doing.
Right. We were going to. Okay, so last week we had the PS3 hooked up, or 4. God, we had the PS4 hooked up on the TV behind me. I can say this now because you can see everything. We had the PS4 hooked up on the TV behind me. We had the cam facing that screen and showing off the dashboard, and taking your questions in the chat room about how this would work and that sort of thing. But was going to do the same thing with the Xbox One. I picked up the Xbox One at midnight on, Friday morning.
Yes.
Grabbed it and took it home, and I went straight to bed again, just like I did last week. Came back to work the next morning because I have to get up at like 4:30 to get here at 5:30. And so I went home yesterday afternoon. I hooked it up. I did not hook up the TV to it because I really wasn't interested in doing that, and it was bad enough me trying to get behind my setup to get everything
Yeah, that's an adventure. Isn't it?
finagled. It is. And so I said, you know what? I'm not going to worry about that. I'm fine with the way I watch TV right now. I don't need it to watch it through my Xbox One or anything like that to set it up. Signed in. The sign-in process was great. The instructions and everything to go through this, the way it walks you through everything that you got to do.
Pretty easy.
Yeah, very easy. Simple, straightforward, nice. It notices that you don't have a TV plugged in and said, hey, well, whenever you do, go to settings, do that, all this other stuff. You check these things later. Just let's get you signed in and let's get you updated. The update did not take very long to do
That's
or
good.
to install. Live seemed to be running fine. Again, I didn't log on to any games, but I was connected okay.
Do you have a gold membership?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I do have a gold membership. In fact, it renewed about a week ago. The first thing I'll say is that to do anything on the system, once you've updated it, you have to download stuff. Like, as it sits, it's got Skype, it's got Netflix, it's got SkyDrive, it's got the editing software you can do for uploading your videos of gameplay stuff. But none of that is like pre-installed. Those are all considered apps.
I see.
And you have to download them in order to have them. Amazon Prime Video, Hulu, NFL. In fact, in order to become a Blu-ray player, I had to
Get the Blu-ray app?
download the Blu-ray app.
Oh, wow.
Yes, which I thought was strange. Now I downloaded it last night and didn't think anything of it. I was like, I better go ahead and get that. So I went ahead and downloaded that, and anything else that just seemed Killer Instinct, I went ahead and downloaded that as well because that was free, and I didn't have a game to play. Again, I'm in the situation where GameFly shipped the games, but they weren't going to arrive. Last week they arrived on Saturday, but I had them delivered here to work, and I didn't have a way to get those games, so I got them on Monday. This week they shipped them out on Thursday, which for us usually means we're not going to get them until what? If they ship them on a Monday, we usually don't get them until about Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay.
So they shipped them on a Thursday, and we didn't. And I'm not going to get those until Monday. Not that it matters.
Yeah.
Because as it
Something went
turns
wrong.
out,
Yeah.
Yeah, as it is, I can't play on my Xbox One. I can't play anything that requires a disc.
you're one of the lucky 0.5%, right?
Yeah, I'm one of it's from what I understand. I posted this on Facebook before the show. The Daniel, who used to be on this show, who now works at Bungie of all places, said, "Hey, congrats! You're one of the 0.5% of people who have a borked disk drive." So you can go to our YouTube channel and you can see me show you exactly what happens when you put a disc in the system. I tried it with a Blu-ray. Here's what I did. I got up this morning and I walk in and I say Xbox on, and it comes on, and that's a weird thing for me. Voice commands on this thing is strange, and I thought, okay, let me give it a shot. So I unplugged my DirecTV box and plugged it into the back of the Xbox One. And it immediately recognizes that you've got TV. And it's like, hey, let's go through the setup. So it sets everything up. It can now turn on my DirecTV system, and it shows a guide. Oddly enough, it does not show local channels.
Huh.
So if you've got local channels, it doesn't seem to recognize those. Now, I didn't go really deep into this system, so I'm not exactly sure.
There might be a way,
That there might be a way for those to display and
but upon
to
initial.
set all that stuff up. But initially, no, it does not show those. In fact, I went to, I was like, hey, what's on channel, whatever, local channel, and it can't figure that out. It can't figure out what I'm trying to say. It takes me to the next best thing, which was like WNBC or something like that. But it doesn't go to any of our NBC affiliate or our CBS affiliate or anything like that. It doesn't go to those local channels. So, so I grabbed the remote to I grabbed the universal remote that goes to my DirecTV, and I switch it to the local channel. And I say, Xbox, show me the guide. So I could see what channel it thinks that I'm sitting on. And the first channel it thinks I'm sitting on is like channel 70 instead of channel 8 or 4 or whatever, the local one that I was on. So it did not recognize the local channels. I thought, well, that's strange. The other problem with that is it cannot access my my recorded shows,
Right.
the DVR part.
That's something we had
of
sort of
this.
sussed out just between
From the beginning.
ourselves.
Yeah.
A while
And I mean,
back,
we
but
figured
yeah.
this out beforehand, but let's put it into practice. Let's see what
Yeah.
happens. Nothing happens. It can't access that. So I can use I can use my universal remote to still bring up my list of DVR shows, and I can still hit play, and they'll work. And then the functions of the player works. So I can say Xbox pause, and it'll pause what I'm watching.
Okay.
I can say Xbox fast forward. It'll fast forward.
Okay.
That is not. If they tweak this stuff, it can be really good. But so far, Xbox fast forward seems to only go at one speed, and saying it again does not change that speed.
Oh. Is it like a slower fast forward?
It's not very fast. Yeah, it's not as fast as I'd like it. Normally, when I skip commercials, it's like hit the button 3 times, so it gets the fast or the next to fastest that he can give me as far as speeding through the commercials. The other problem with that is when I'm going fast like that on the fast forward, if I hit play, it kind of jumps back a few seconds because
Yeah.
it thinks, okay, you've overshot, which is great. Xbox One doesn't do that. By the time that you tell it, now if you're using voice commands, it may be different. I didn't try that with the controller. I'm sure it's quicker with the controller, but by the time you tell it Xbox Play,
You've already passed.
you've already passed the starting point of where you want to
Yeah,
be.
your DVR is still going to compensate the same amount that it would have had you pressed a button at that moment. So,
But I can't
when you-
vocally get
you
that out
can't-
in time.
You can't do that as fast as you can press the button. You'll
Right.
never be able to.
Yeah, so that did not work as I would have liked it. Again, I look at that and I think, hey, potential though. They can fix this. And if
Well, some aspects of that, they're
Yeah.
not going to be able to fix the bit where it rewinds, however much it rewinds, because that's a function of the DVR. Because all it's doing is sending remote control commands to the DVR.
yeah,
It can't change the DVR's behavior.
that's true because it's an IR blaster. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The DVR is built knowing that there is a lag between when your eye recognizes
And when your brain
that the show
hits
is
it.
back on, and when your when your thumb presses the button, and when the signal gets to the DVR, and they've timed that out pretty well, so it knows how much to rewind when it gets that play command based on how fast it's fast forwarding at the time.
Yeah.
The DVR has no way to understand that a whole new set of input lag has been introduced, and the Xbox has no way to tell it because all it's doing is pressing that button for you. That's not something they're ever going to be able to compensate for.
True. Well, that's going to be a point against it on me. Now, although I could possibly use the controller, I would like to try that when I get my replacement system back. I would like to try to see how the controller works on that. I guess it's going to work the same way, though, because I'm just, again, vocally, it's the system's listening to you, but it doesn't activate until you say Xbox command.
It should be a lot closer with the controller. You might not even notice a difference.
But probably still not as good.
probably a few milliseconds off.
Because it's however DirecTV has functioned in probably that first fast forward setting. Mm-hmm. Because the first fast forward setting doesn't really correlate between, hey, he might be over when he hit play very much.
Because it's a slower fast
Yeah,
forward.
when you're doing it 3 times,
Right.
it jumps back a good bit to compensate. So, and without that ability, and again, I could be wrong on this. There's probably a lot of people who are either listening to this right now or will be later who says, no, you can do it this way. I agree with you. I'm not saying it does not work. I'm saying that I haven't had the time to dig into this thing. I watched a couple of shows. I tried to do some snap features where I could play a game and watch. I couldn't, for some reason, I couldn't get out of the, what does they call it? I couldn't get out of the snap feature in order to start my game back up while TV was going. I could either go full screen or just cancel that to play my game. I'm sure there's a way it can be done, but after a while I was like, I'll mess with it later. A lot of these things were just like, hey, we'll look at it on the show, or I'll mess with it some other time. We'll get down to this further. I'll dig into this thing.
Yeah, you're just trying to quickly suss out what it
So
is.
I was about ready to turn everything off and start packing up and getting ready to come in and do everything I do before the show to get prepped and stuff. But I said, let me try this one other thing. Let me put a Blu-ray in to make sure I don't have a faulty disk drive. And I put a Blu-ray in, and I got a faulty disk drive.
Oh, that's painful.
makes this noise. This is the noise you hear whenever you stick a disc into my Xbox One.
Oh,
That's the noise
That's
you
a
hear.
very unpleasant sound.
yes.
Yeah, it's a horrible noise.
Yeah.
It's just nasty. And so, yeah, there you go. Plorch is like, what? Yeah, that's the noise it makes. Again, you can go to our YouTube channel and you can see me put the disc in, make the noise.
Does the disc even go in all the way?
Yeah,
or
well, I mean, it goes out of sight. I mean, I don't. It sounds like it's not going in all the way, or it sounds like this. It sounds.
It
like
sounds.
it's not catching?
It sounds to me, and I can say this based on like having repaired disk drives and consoles like 10 years ago or something. And this may not be what's happening. I've never looked in one of these, but it sounds like it doesn't have a good grip on the disk. You know, most
Okay.
disk drives have a little magnetic piece that comes down and holds the disk in place.
Yeah,
while
this is
it
a
spins.
slot loading. This is a slot
Right.
type disk drive. It's not a tray system.
Right, right.
So
But it sounds, and it could be something else, but that's what it reminds me of, is something trying to hold the disk in place,
And just not-
slipping while it's trying to spin.
So how'd the disc look when you took it out?
now, I wanted to show that as well. So I did this video where I put the disc in. It makes the noise. It ejects fine.
Okay.
So I hit the eject button, which, by the way, everything on the Xbox One is all touch based. There are no physical buttons. So it's all touch sensor type stuff. So anyway, it ejects the disc fine. You see this. I pull the disc out and I try to get as good an angle as I can. It's very hard to do with video, but I try to get a good as angle as I can to show you that disc looks okay.
Okay.
It doesn't
didn't
seem
chew
to
it
be-
up.
Right.
It didn't chew it up. Didn't put any marks on it. Didn't make any scratches. For those few times.
Oh, yeah?
So I put it back in. The screen says there's no disc. Once you do this, the screen's like there's no disc inserted. And I thought, well, let me go to the Blu-ray app, and I did that, and it's like, nope, there's no disc inserted. So I said, oh great, we've got a problem. So
What disc were you putting in?
what was it? Sherlock Holmes, I think. It was a Blu-ray.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a Blu-ray disc that I was trying to put into the system.
Okay, not a game, but a movie.
I didn't have a game.
Yeah.
I didn't have any games for the system. So, and I was all planning to talk about, next week, talk about, hey, I played Rise, and I think they're sending me Rise and Dead Rising 3, and I was all ready to talk about those, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case now. But anyway, we got to take a break. When we come back, I'll tell you more about my situation. I'll tell you about my situation going through support to get all this worked out, and we'll talk more about that coming up on In-Game Chat next. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. That was titled Assassin of Kings. I believe that's from Witcher 2. Oops. Let me put up your microphones there. There we go. Everybody's on.
Okay.
Yeah, so there are a lot of people in the chat room wondering what the music was, and I believe that's from Witcher 2. So there you go. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. Matt, during the break, went down and got his PS4 out of the car.
So no one break into my car.
All you criminals out there coming to take his PS4, it is now in the studio. You will have to, just don't break into here. We're pretty defenseless up here as it is anyway. But anyway, welcome back to the show. And where was I? We were talking about the Xbox One and my situation.
And the lovely sounds it was making.
Yeah, that was great.
It doesn't get any better the more I hear it.
No, it's horrible.
Terrible.
So, so anyway, that happens. In the first place, obviously, I go get my phone and I videotape this and like, okay, let's show this off. I post about it. I put it up on our site, on the Facebook page, on Twitter and YouTube and everything else. And then I take the process of, well, now let's figure out what we need to do about this. So I hit up Xbox support forums. I really can't find anything. they go when I get there to the support forums and stuff. It's got a couple of different options that you can take. Hit the forums, contact customer support. The call service says that it's closed, but I found the number anyway and called it. The wait time was 3 hours.
Oh,
Ooh.
wow. And what time did you call?
Probably about 12. It was a few minutes after I posted that video, and I think I posted that video around 12:30.
Which 12:30?
Central. 12:30 noon. Yeah, today.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
12:30 today. All this took place just today.
Okay.
This morning.
Okay.
Yeah. So I call them. The wait time is 3 hours. I leave that on hold for a little while, but in the meantime, I go to their chat support and I get in line for that. The wait time on that is 110 minutes. So I
Doing
said-
better, but
Yeah,
doing
but
better.
still-
By a
So
lot.
yeah, so I wait in line, and finally it gets down to about 25 minutes left on the chat.
Yeah.
Because that's nice. It gives me a nice little countdown. The phone does not give you any kind of update. Like, okay, you've got 2.5 hours left to go, or anything like that. It does not give you any kind of an update.
Was the music at least good? Like
No,
full
it
music?
repeated way too quickly.
Oh.
I think there was 2 tracks, and that was it. That's what it sounded like anyway. So, so it gets down to about 25 minutes left on the chat. So I hang up the phone. I'm like, no, I'm not going to sit here and wait on this. Plus, it's also now around 1:30 or so.
Okay.
I'm like, all right, show starts at 5. I've still got to pack up because when I leave here, I don't go back home. I still have to pack up my PC. Still have to pack up my PS4, which, by the way, now we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
And I still need to grab a shower and get ready and get everything ready to go before the show. I like to get here about an hour ahead of time before we broadcast. So we come on at 6. I like to get here at about 5, and here it is 1:30, and I still haven't done anything. Still haven't gotten on the phone with chat yet, or haven't gotten support with the chat yet. They finally come on and they talk me. They talk to me about it. They need my account information, which I give them all the information they need there. Then she starts saying, "What's your problem?" I said, "Hey, I got the disk drive issue." The lady doesn't sound like she knows what that issue is, but
Okay.
who knows?
Yeah.
It sounds a lot like what normal support is, which is if they say this, start looking up these things to figure out what's going on. She walks me through the usual thing. Have you?
Is the power on? Is it plugged in?
No.
Not that
stuff
usual?
that stuff they know. But she has me do a power off.
Okay.
A cycle. Cycle of power. Let's try again. So I'm like, all right, fine. I know you got to do these things.
Sure.
I know you can't just come on
They,
and be
they
like,
have their checklist that they have to go
you can't
through.
just come on and be like, what's your problem? I got a broken disk drive. All right, we're sending you a new one. No, they've got to they got to go through these steps, and
Sure.
and because it gets logged, they have to make their boss has to be able to look at this and say, yep, they went through the correct steps. Here's the situation. Good, glad you did this. I'm not giving her any crap on this.
No, but
I
that's
understand.
just unfortunately for you. That's just more time.
Right, I know. So we do the cycle off the thing back on, put the disc in, it makes the noise. Where's the noise? So put the disc in, makes the noise. I go back and I tell her, yeah, that's the situation. She says, is the disc clean? I was like, yep, clean the disc. The disc was pristine to begin with, to be honest with you. But did you try any other discs? And I did try some other discs, and it was still doing it. These were all Blu-rays. I told her, I said, I don't have game discs to try. She said, okay, do you have the Blu-ray app installed? I do have it installed. Uninstall it,
Oh,
do the power cycle,
man.
download it and reinstall, and I did all that. So here it is on to about 2:30,
Yeah.
and we're still going through
Time
this.
ticking.
I know, and I'm like, oh God. You can see I didn't shave today. And you probably can on our new camera. But so I go through all the steps. I say, okay, I did the install. I put the disc in. It didn't work. She says, like, well, that's all we can do for you. It looks like we're gonna do a replacement.
Hooray!
Yeah, and I'm like,
This-
yay, this is great.
Why
So
I got in touch
yeah.
with you? Okay.
I immediately jump into the question of, are you doing the advance exchange?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I had read about, which is the one where they'll just go ahead and send you a new system,
Yes.
and then you send back the other system on
Give
your
them
own.
your credit card information so that
Yeah.
they've got way to
Some
charge
way
you
to
if you
yeah,
don't-
charge you
if you don't
yeah.
send your old one.
Yeah, they
back.
already
Right.
have that through my account,
Okay.
my gold subscription account. They already have all that
True.
information. They said, could you verify your name and address? And I give them all that information. I said, hey, I'm not even going to be at home while you ship this week. Can I give you an alternate address? They said, sure. So
Okay.
I gave them a completely different address. for them to send the box to, work address. So we got through with that, and they emailed me all the FedEx packets, all the stuff that I'm going to need to do to send this back in. So I get done with that at about 3 o'clock.
Do you have a routing? Do you have like a tracking number?
I'm sure I do. I've got the email. I haven't opened it up yet, but
Okay.
it's all from FedEx.
Okay.
They do it with FedEx. So
Okay.
jump in the shower, get all that done, run over to the console, start tearing it down and trying to put everything back in the box, trying to remember how it all went and remembering what I took out. Because there's a lot of things when you look at that stuff, like quick start guide, and there was the day one achievement situation, and then there were the batteries that come for the controller, which I was like, I don't need those. I got my own rechargeables. Luckily, I didn't throw them away. I actually kept those, but trying to get the wiring back in so that the box is all the way it's supposed to be.
Did you take the disc out?
Yeah, I did. I remember to do that. I remember to take the disc out, and what else? It was, oh God, it was hard, especially that Kinect, trying to get it back in the way it needed to go back in. I could not figure it out. Luckily, the night before, since James was working, I'd taken some unboxing pictures. So I could send them to James as I was unboxing, like, oh, look, it packed really nice and everything else. And so I could go back to that and be like, okay, this goes here, this goes in. It's very much it's a puzzle game, really, as to how to repack your console.
Xbox Tetris.
Yeah, really it is. So that's taken care of, but I am without an Xbox One for a couple of days now. I will not be able to have one. I've got the one that works now, but I'm true to my word. I'm going to send that back as soon as possible. We did not bring that in because I was afraid that even if we did bring it in, the least little problem that could have occurred from bringing it in, if we dropped it, if for whatever reason it broke further, I was worried about how that might void any kind of warranty or hurt any kind of process in getting a new one.
It's better not to take risks.
And so I didn't want to take the risks. When you got $500 invested in the system, I didn't want to take risks on getting one back. Obviously, it works, but it does not take discs. It only works 99.9% right now at capacity. So that's the situation with my Xbox One. We were all set to do this. And if you got some questions, I might be able to answer some of them as to how stuff worked. But I mean, I didn't get to play much.
Yeah.
Killer Instinct. It's a fighting game. I'm not good at that. So I didn't get to really try out the system and do a lot with it. Killer Instinct did look really good from the little bit that I was able to see, but that's not enough. It's not enough. I will say that the pass-through, the HDMI pass-through from my DirecTV box into the Xbox One looked fine. I had heard reports that there was lag or that there was a sync issue of audio, that the video didn't look very good as it does going directly from that source. I had no problem with the shows that I looked at, and everything was recorded in HD, so I didn't see any kind of problem with the system. But that's my Xbox One story. That's where I sit. I know that I think I'm the only one on the show getting an Xbox One. I know RJ's not. Were you
I'm
going
not.
to, Matt?
Eventually down the road, it's just, I couldn't justify right now throwing down, the money on both systems. So it, just like last console cycle, I got the Xbox first, and then eventually I got the PS3. It's going to be like that. I'll eventually get one, but not anytime soon.
Yeah.
Maybe when I get back from my next trip.
Yeah. Well, it's I'd love to be able to tell you, that it's worth having, or it's worth trying to find or something like that, but I can't give it a good enough recommendation at the moment to do that with.
Now, you have the camera for the PS4, and the Xbox comes with the Kinect. So are you gonna have both cameras next to each other on your television?
Yeah. I mean, that will be how it works out. Yeah. I mean, I like the PS4's camera. I like it mainly for streaming. I'm not going to do much with that Playroom situation that uses it, and maybe they'll have other games that utilize that sort of thing. I like the voice commands for the PlayStation 4, which I've used a lot, and I've also liked the streaming part of that I've said to put my face while I'm playing a game, that sort of thing. So I enjoy that. The Kinect is really big. This is my first time having a Kinect.
Oh yeah,
The thing is huge.
is this one as big as the original Kinect, or is it in a smaller version?
I didn't have the Kinect. I want to say I'm not sure. Somebody in the chat room may be able to tell us, but I never had the original Kinect, and I never really looked at the original Kinect very much in stores or anywhere else. I didn't really look it over that much. I was never interested in it.
What is this thing about the width of the system, the camera for the Kinect?
No, it's a little smaller than that.
Just slightly smaller.
Slightly smaller than that.
Slightly.
It's not as big as this as far as the width is concerned.
Okay.
But that's pretty big compared to the PS4 camera.
Oh no, it's gigantic in that comparison.
Now, this thing has like cameras, speakers, and whatnot's in there.
Yeah, and the cameras, I
Does
think
it actually like tilt?
I didn't see it do it while I had it hooked up.
Okay.
But it never gave it a reason to. I am, unfortunately, again, I fall into a percentage of people, apparently, I don't know how widespread that is, but I fall into a percentage of people that sits pretty far back from his TV. I measured it out last night. I sit about 13 feet away.
Well, when you have a 80-foot television,
Right. So 13 feet away, the PS4 camera does not work very well to identify me.
Okay, but it can't
So-
pick up your voice.
It can pick up my voice, but when you log in, this is something that you'll see. You can log in through your PS4 with the camera. Once it identifies your face and attaches it to your profile, when you sit down and start up the system, if you've got a controller in your hand, it recognizes that and tries to recognize your face and say, "Oh, that's Scott," and let's log him in. Can't do that from where it sits. I have to either get up very close to it in order to put the controller in front of it and my face so it can recognize that, if I want to go that way.
Okay.
Otherwise, I can just hit the X button. Different ways to utilize what it wants to do. But when I was streaming, I actually pulled the camera away from the TV and set up a little table there in front of my living room. Where
Bring the camera closer to you.
brought the camera closer to me. It clutters up the room, but for the time that I'm going to use it, I don't have a problem doing that, and it's really nice. The Kinect recognizes me, but it can't recognize, like, when I tried to redeem that code for the day one achievement. Xbox use code. It says, okay, show me the QR code. QR code's huge on that card, but it can't see it from where I sit. I have to walk up closer to it and put it in front and do that and have it scan it. So
That's interesting that it does that. I kind of like that for the code redeeming. So now,
I like it, but I would love it if I could sit on the couch and do it.
do
I
that.
mean, I know it's all kind of laziness here, but
Yeah.
it's what it's kind of supposed to do anyway.
I wonder if the GameStops and the Best Buys and the other companies, like when you do pre-order codes, if they're going to start printing those out as QR codes. So if you when you pre-order the new game and it has the special new in-game item, you could just flash it up and it'll, instead of having to type in all the stuff.
That's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, very possible. It does have the code on the. It does have the however many digit code on that card, in case you didn't want to go that route. If you didn't want to do the scan the QR code.
Because I know some places, they have just on your receipt itself, it'll have the 15 or 18 digit code that you have to type in.
Yeah, I will say that I did call GameStop after my Xbox made the. When it made that sound, it's fun. I got a button I can press. When it made that sound and I needed to call support, I did call GameStop, which is where I bought it from. And it's the local one that I got it from for the midnight. And I talked to him and I said, "Hey, man," I said, "can I speak to a manager?" Got a manager. I said, "Were you there for the Xbox One midnight thing?" He said, "Yes, I was." I was like, "Okay, I was a dude from the radio getting recordings of people." So he could remember who I was. I was there for the PS4 launch as well. And I said, "Listen, I've got a problem with my Xbox One. Have you had anybody bring any in for any issues?" And he's like, "Nope, nobody's brought any back." And
Too bad they couldn't have swapped one out there for you right then instead of having to go through Microsoft.
Well, I asked. I said, "Well, it's given me an issue, and it's got a disk drive problem. Are you familiar with that?" He was not familiar with what the disk drive situation was. And I said, "Well, it makes a horrible noise when you put the disk in. Doesn't damage the disk." He's like, "Well, you're probably going to have a lot quicker turnaround going through Microsoft than you would through us. They don't have any spare systems,
Oh, yeah.
so it's
That
not
makes
like
sense.
Expected.
yeah. So it's not like I'm going to be able to walk in and they were like, okay, we got these on reserve back here that we can give to you for They don't keep any for any kind of faulty hardware. Why should they? Shouldn't have faulty hardware, honestly. I mean, you shouldn't. You're gonna, but you shouldn't. You really, really
It's
shouldn't.
not the retailer's responsibility to
And it isn't.
have extra stock.
It
for-
isn't. So I don't
for
put
faulty hardware.
Yeah, I don't put any blame on them, and I don't put any blame on them for saying, "Hey, go through Microsoft, don't go through us."
Right.
Because I believe, in all fairness, it will be quicker to go through Microsoft. I hope we're gonna find this is gonna be an ongoing situation. We'll be updating you regularly. I'll do more video posts and let you know how things are going as far as that's concerned. But But yeah, so I didn't go through them to get it. I will say that when I went to the midnight for this, for the Xbox One launch, it did have a lot of people there. It about the same as the PS4 that I could tell.
Okay.
I was in and out quick, man. I mean, if they, I remember looking at because I sent a text to James when I got done because he was asking me how's the crowd and everything. It was 12:03 when I sent him the text from my car saying I'm done.
Wow.
So midnight 12:03. I was number 7 in line, I think, something like that. So yeah, it went by very quick.
That's great when they actually have it pretty well organized, so that way you're not waiting in line.
Mm-hmm. They did. I couldn't tell people who were getting like the day one editions and stuff like that because there's the green box and the black box. They were putting everybody's box in these big black bags, so you couldn't see really which one they were getting. Not that it matters because
was the day one the black box?
The day one is the black box. The regular edition is just the green box, and there's really no difference other
than achievement.
The achievement, and there's branding on the controller.
So with you turning yours in, you don't get to keep that controller, do you?
No, everything has to go back.
Yeah.
Everything has to go back. HDMI cables have to go back, which I didn't have to use those anyway.
Yeah. But your, handy-dandy day one controllers now.
No, they're replacing the system.
Okay, with the day one system?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was like a day one or just a...
I think that's interesting, though, because I mean, I've never
at least
had
this is what the customer support person was telling me.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure she did. I just think it's interesting that it works that way with a day one brand new system, because anytime I've ever had to deal with returning a defective piece of hardware, and I've had to do that with a console a time or two, the instructions I've always gotten have been to don't include any of the cables that it came with, don't include anything. If you've put your own hard drive in there, take it out. Like, I had to return a 360 one time, and they're like, if you've got a hard drive on it, take it off. They're like, only send us the system back.
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting that it's
they
probably has something with it being a brand new launch system.
Yeah.
And that they want everything back. But
you can't obviously you can't take off the hard drive on this thing.
No.
You can't turn that back. So I went ahead and I told the system to remove my account from this Xbox.
Okay.
Which it did that, and once I was done, I was like, okay. I turned off the save password feature or whatever else I did, turned all that sort of...
Basically reset it.
Yeah, pretty much. And then said, here, send it back. So, yeah, everything has to go. And so I included every single thing. I hope I did. I have to remember. But,
and what was that sound again?
Yeah, we got a request in the forums for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It says Smelt came in late. It says he came in late. Why is he swapping it out?
Oh, Smelton. Why am I swapping out the Xbone? Because when I put a disc in the system, it makes this noise. It's a horrible noise.
Especially after $500 has been spent.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the noise it makes when you put a disc in. Go again. Check us out on YouTube. You can find that video. It's the first video in there that I did today. So it's a horrible, horrible, horrible sound. And hopefully I'm going to get a replacement unit sent to me. Hopefully this week. Again, this was everything. I have put it this way. I saved the chat.
Yeah.
Smart.
Because, again, I posted this in COG, and somebody said, hey, where did you buy it from, and will you keep us up to date on how you go through support? And I said, yeah, you know what? I'll be very vocal about this. Number one, radio.
Yes.
I'll be extremely vocal about this, good or bad. If they're great, I'll be telling you that they're great. If it's horrible, I'll tell you that it's horrible. But I'm going to have everything documented so that you guys can see what all I had to go through, because you might fall into this trap as well. You might get a system that has the same issue. This is not a widespread situation. Daniel said it was 0.5% of people who got these were finding out that they had the issue.
Hopefully this will be like the last of the issues that you'll have with that console, that, it won't, down the road, something else won't break, like how eventually we all got the Red Ring of Death on our initial Xbox. So hopefully this will take care of it, and then you're done for bad
Well, it's
things.
interesting to think, is this a problem that will crop up later for people who haven't had that issue yet?
Who knows? It might come down the road. Yeah.
Is it obviously they haven't elaborated on what the situation is. By the way, if you guys, I can't follow the chat room while I'm talking, but if you guys see a question that needs answering, let us know. But is this a situation where a certain amount of batch drives that they bought to put in these systems have gone out and are affected?
Maybe they got the disk drives from Sony.
Well, from what I read, again, unverified, this was on COG. Somebody said that they were light-ons. The drives
Okay.
were light-ons.
They used a lot of light-ons later in the life cycle of the 360. So
And I
light-on
believe
tends to make good drives.
yeah, and I've got one in my PC, and so it's
I got one of mine in your old PC too.
yeah, exactly. They've been the ones I go with. I think because I buy them from Newegg, but
Yeah.
but so yeah, that was the drive that they used. It'll be interesting to see. This is the console released Friday. Today is Saturday. 2 days. You know, it'll be interesting to see all these people that bought systems for Christmas.
Oh yeah, for
How
people
this is-
haven't opened them yet because they're waiting.
How
to be
is this going to
packaged.
crop up later on down the line when kids open up their Christmas presents or whatever the case may
This
be?
might be something that comes back to bite them.
So yeah, I'm curious to see how widespread this actually is. Having a 0.5% right now only means that 0.5% of the people that own one have reported it.
Yeah.
Again, it took me. I didn't even think. If I hadn't heard about the problems on the internet, I wouldn't have even stuck a disc in there until I got the games from GameFly. What about people who haven't done that yet? So it's a little.
The numbers could
It's a
go
little
up.
uncertain to say that it's just 0.5%.
I don't think they'll go up very much though, because
I'm hoping that
most-
they don't. I'm not. Please,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be
Yeah.
the sky is falling type of person.
as
No,
far
no.
as far as the day one thing, I mean, it's we'll have to wait and see if anything else happens with either of these systems down the road. But as far as this day one disk drive problem, I think the vast majority of people are going to open it up as soon as they get home to play with it. Most of them aren't going to be held back as Christmas presents, and most of them will have bought a game to go with it.
And I'm sure, like you said, with 0.5, the majority of them will work fine. But unfortunately, with any kind of technology, any kind of moving parts, there's always that possibility, which you just sort of draw the shorter straw. it
Yeah,
seems.
and I said that about the. I don't know if I said it on the show or if I said it in some forums, but when the PS4 had some issues with the HDMI issues and stuff like that, and I was like, man, it's a crap. It's a dice roll.
It
That's
really
it.
is.
That's it. And you roll that dice. Luckily, they've got warranties that can replace the systems. It may suck to have to wait for those to get replaced, but anytime it's new technology like this, you're just rolling the dice on whether you get a good one or a bad one. And I came up great on my PS4, came up problematic on my Xbox One. And it kind of sucks that it was the Xbox One after everything that they've gone through already. Had it not happened to me, I really wouldn't be worried about that sort of situation. Also, something I was thinking about is looking at this from I'm a guy who owns both systems and a PC. Let me put myself in the head of somebody who was like, I'm waiting for the Xbox One. I want the Xbox One.
I don't have
I got
any
the Xbox
system.
One.
Yes.
It's great. Yay. And then they have this problem. It's a really hard thing. It's a really hard thing to have happen. I'm pretty easy going on things, especially it's under warranty. I'm getting the system replaced. I'm okay. I'm not outraged.
It's more of an inconvenience.
It's a big inconvenience. I got my PS4. I got my PC to play on. I'm okay.
These things happen.
Yeah.
And
But
it's part
with
of,
somebody-
it is part of the risk you take with being an early adopter.
Yeah, but with somebody who saved up $500,
I know, man.
waiting to
I
buy
know.
this thing and gets it, and then has this happen, it's a horrible. Have you anybody else in here run into problems with their consoles day one type situations?
I haven't,
Previous.
I haven't had a day one problem with a console, although I did end up with one of those busted Rock Band guitars.
Mm-hmm.
In that first
And
batch
of
that
course
went
you revived me for my 360. Remember, I got
Yes.
I had a problem, and we did that on the show. You came in and fixed it.
out.
I had a day one 360 Elite. I got that the day it released, and I was the last one in our group to get the Red Ring of Death. But eventually, that one did die. So but I haven't had anything like straight out the gate broken.
Any problems with you, RJ?
No, I haven't had one personally. The only one I've seen was a witnessed 360 Elite at a final round 13 that I attended. Someone brought their Elite downstairs who donated it for the tournament, and they started playing it, and at about 2 hours in, they got a Red Ring of Death.
Ooh.
And the system was like less than a week old.
Yeah, I mean, if we go through the systems, obviously I had that problem with my 360.
Yeah, everyone here, I believe, has had the Red Ring of Death at some point.
Yeah, and
excepting RJ, who
yeah,
had
just
no
witnessed
one.
one.
just
I
never
never
had
had
a
one.
360.
Yeah.
No.
But you fixed my first Red Ring of Death, and that lasted. I think I got another year or so out of that console, and then it died again. Again, Microsoft. On the Sony side of things, my PlayStation 3 was still the big fat 60 gig first generation
Right.
console. Never had the yellow light of death. I know Nabokov's in the chat room, so he's he could
had-
tell us stories.
He had all of our yellow light of deaths.
Yeah,
from
really.
what I
He
understand.
had every single one that
Yeah.
we should have had. He took the hit
No,
for
wait,
us.
well, he didn't get mine. I had one as well. I had a yellow light.
Oh,
on
did
my-
you?
I had a yellow light.
Okay.
Before.
But yeah, never. I've so far. I've never had a problem with Sony. My only problems have been with Microsoft. The warranty had run out on my my first 360 by the time that it really went.
When it
the
bricked?
red ring. Yeah, when it bricked, my warranty had run out, and I was like, there's no saving this. Had to buy a new one.
Yeah.
Bought a new one, and that one has lasted me. That one's been fine.
When I bought my new one, it was 2 days before E3 when they announced the Slim. When they say, "Oh, it's available now," and I was like, "Oh man, if I would just waited 2 more days, I would have had a Slim."
Yeah. But never had a problem with Sony's, just with Microsoft. So that's where I sit right now with the Xbox One. I can't give you any kind of recommendation on it to play it or not. I can't give you any kind of. I just did not go deep enough into it, like I would have wanted to really talk about it. And honestly, if it had worked, we'd have it up here and we'd be going through the features on it and talking about it. We really would. But given that situation and given the fact that I'm now in kind of in a contract with Microsoft to send that system back. They know it's a disk problem. If anything else shows up where it shows that, this looks like he threw it on cement or some other problem, I could run into problems of getting a replacement unit. So just did not want to take that chance. Anyway, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we've got the second hour of In-Game Chat. We will be right back. And welcome back to In-Game Chat, the second hour. And that was music from, what is that, Anodyne? Did I pronounce that right? I believe. I'm not familiar with the game, at least.
For some reason, that reminded me of an old school game called Phantasmagoria.
I know that one, but I'm not familiar with
It just reminded me of that for some reason.
Anodyne. Anyway, welcome back to the show. Yeah, right, dude says, can we talk about the length of the last console generation and the expectations for this one? The most. It's not like it was just a week ago.
Yes.
It's just weird to
but
say
it's
that.
but it's done.
Yeah,
It's done and over.
for some people it is. Yes.
For our way of measuring these things.
Yeah,
it's
really,
done.
it is. 7 years.
7 years.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I mean, give or take a year or two, because I know that it was staggered. I know Microsoft released first, and then a year later Sony released, and the Wii. But yeah, for these two, for Sony and Microsoft, it was about a 7-year cycle.
I read that it took about 4 years for them to hit their stride, really, and like the peak of the cycle was 4 years into it. So with the extended out of, because typically there are 5 years cycles. So with the extra, couple years, that kind of makes sense that the peak was at the 4 year mark. So
They wanted it to be 10 years. They'd always said it would be
yeah,
a
the 10 year
cycle.
cycle.
My position on that was always that they were never talking about 10 years until the next hardware. Like
They were talking about 10 years until they stopped manufacturing the systems?
until they stopped making games for those systems,
Yeah.
which that was always kind of feasible. I think the PS2 had a similar
It went for a good while.
lifespan. But that's never how gamers measure the lifespan of
They don't.
of a system.
They measure
So-
until the new one comes out, and that's it.
So I always felt they were being disingenuous when they said that it was going to have a 10-year life cycle. I always felt like they knew up front that it was not going to be 10 years until they released the next hardware. I don't think they ever really believed that. But that they certainly made everybody else think that they believed that.
Yeah. Well,
the way they talked about it.
but and when it got around to it, and again, we're talking about kind of the last gen situation, but when it got around to it, I remember a couple of E3s ago when we were saying that, again, they had not made any announcements of we're going to be releasing a new console or anything like that. But once that E3 was over, we kind of looked at it and said, you got nothing to talk about next year.
Yeah.
You've got to be releasing a system. It's got to happen. You've got
Mm-hmm.
nothing. The games lineup there's nothing there on the horizon.
Kind of all drying out.
Nothing's been announced. You've got to be working on this thing, so it's got to come out. It was just one of those situations where each E3 after a certain point was like, they don't have a lot to talk about now anymore. They don't have a lot to, about the only thing they can talk about is we're reducing the price and we've streamlined the system.
Yeah, we made them skinnier.
Or handheld.
Mm-hmm.
Let's focus on the PSP. Well, that's done with. Let's focus on the Vita or the DS, the DSi,
Well,
the 3DS.
At some point several years ago, they both thought that getting behind some sort of gesture and motion-based control would extend the life of these things.
Right.
Yeah.
That was
Microsoft
The
threw
Move.
everything behind Kinect, and Sony a little bit later threw a bunch behind Move.
In fact, they
And-
released it at E3 as Project Natal
Yeah.
before they ever came out with the Kinect
Yeah.
moniker for it.
And neither one really took off the way they wanted it to. I mean, Kinect was, I guess, a modest success for Microsoft, but not anywhere nearly in the way they wanted it to be.
No, but now they're going to force it to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Because with every Xbox One sold, you get a Kinect with it, and so that can obviously translate into
They're
this-
already in the houses.
look how many people own a Kinect.
Yeah.
It's a success, depending on usage.
Well, maybe that way also, when you already have it in your house, then people will start developing games for it, and actually
Maybe.
having something for it, as opposed to like, well, not everybody has one, so why bother? I don't know.
I don't necessarily think they're going to start developing games for it as much as they'll add in features that use it
Yeah.
if they need to. I mean, we saw what happened with the 6-axis. That was horrible. I mean, it was almost demanded of every game
To use
towards the
some
beginning.
little gimmick.
Use it.
But
You
this
have
this
to
is
use it.
this is what Microsoft does when they believe in a technology and people don't adopt it. They just roll it into an existing product.
Right. Well, I mean, look at the. It's funny. It's something you have to put on your Xbox One if you want to upload videos of your gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
You're not sending it to the cloud. It's called SkyDrive.
Yeah.
It's like we have to. It's the cloud, but we need to brand it.
Well, yeah, everybody has their own branded,
Yeah.
cloud product, and SkyDrive is.
And SkyDrive is theirs.
Yeah. Although I believe they have to change that now.
Do they?
Really?
Yes,
I had not
because
heard.
Sky TV
Oh, that's
in England.
right.
sued them over that.
Huh.
So I believe there is going to be a rebranding of SkyDrive.
Yeah. Huh. I did not read about that. But
Those
that's
funny
a great.
Brits.
That's a great point that you make up. So.
One thing I was kind of wondering about was it seems like after a while, every console maker sort of steps into handhelds. Nintendo originally with the Game Boy, Sega did it with the Game Gear, PlayStation, and stuff like that. And so I'm wondering if Microsoft is going to try and get their hands into the handheld market.
I don't believe so.
No?
No, because anybody right now that's trying to do dedicated mobile gaming is struggling to do it.
Because of the phones
Yes,
are doing it so well.
because phones and tablets have essentially taken away a lot of the more casual end of that market. There's not as much left for the more only the dedicated mobile gamer goes out and buys a DS or a Vita. It used to be if you wanted to play games on the go, you had to have a Game Boy or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the case anymore. You've already got a smartphone, you've already got a tablet, you've got games you can play. You don't have to go buy another device. So that's an entire segment of that market that they don't control anymore. So it's not as big of a pie. I don't see Microsoft wanting to get in on a shrinking market.
So it's not worth the risk in the end.
It's not worth the investment.
W. Matthews says Nintendo is the only one that can, and only because of Pokemon. Which is a good statement.
Yeah.
Really proves, even though I've never played a single one of those games. But I hear lots of people.
They're pretty popular.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It is very popular. And I hear a lot of people, even, my age or whatever, not that it's an age barrier to get into, but a lot of people my age who may have missed the
we
boat
just
on
missed,
the,
yeah.
Yeah, still saying that, getting into that game. So,
Yeah. And to be clear, there is still a market for those things. It's just not as big as it used to be. So
I do know yesterday the new Zelda game was released on the DS. And so that's definitely one that I'm looking to pick up.
yeah, there were a couple of games. There was Tearaway, and there was the Zelda game as well. There were a couple of things released at the same time as this Xbox One situation where, it was really getting the mind share and the news, the headline type situation. But some great titles that have been released during this Xbox One release. Yeah, right. Blood says that if PS4 can be streamed over net, that's the best handheld. Man, the PS4 streaming it's really good. The fact that Microsoft could not put that in their system at launch, and again, I talked about this in that video I posted on Wednesday, but I really feel like it's the achievements of this generation. Something we didn't have, that we didn't think we wanted, that we didn't know we wanted.
But now that we have it, we're like, this is going to be a lot of fun.
The achievements used to be a big thing. I remember when they first came on the scene, news sites used to post that, hey, the achievements have been released for whatever.
And you look and see, like, how do I get this achievement? What's the requirement?
Right, it'd be a
Yeah.
kind of a big deal to the achievement thing, and that's one of the compare gamer score and all this other stuff that you used to do. I don't care about them anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think streaming is going to quite go in that direction where it's going to be like a huge thing everybody does, and then it's like, I don't care about doing that anymore.
I think, initially, once you're the first one of your friends who hit the 10,000, gamer points, or like some kind of milestone like that. But after a while, you're just like, eh.
Yeah, I looked at my score while I was doing the transfer over, and I'm up to like 38,000. But I just don't care. I look at my trophy count, and I don't really care. It's nice to kind of compare. It's fun. It's especially fun with you guys when we talk every Saturday.
It's more to see, like, oh, where are you at?
Yeah, it's fun to look at and see where you've made it in the progress of the game, so that I don't say something that spoils any situation for you. But streaming aspect, be able to stream from your console, just with a click of a button, man.
it's huge.
It's a huge deal compared to what I have to go through at home just to set up OBS and get everything straightened out.
Well, like you were
Yeah.
telling me before we did the show, apparently some guy just set up and started streaming in the Playroom on PS4, and
Yeah.
started doing like a talk show thing where people could call in. And
Spartan M was his name, and he set up Playroom to stream, and Playroom essentially just acts as a webcam in that situation. You've got some augmented reality going on, some AR going on, but yeah, he just set that up and started talking like a talk show, set up like a Google Chat number and that sort of thing, so people could call in to the show, and he streamed. God, for hours and hours, gave away his old PS3, and did some other stuff with all the people watching. Had like 5,000 viewers at one point. It was huge, and he was doing that from his PS4.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a big deal to be able to stream.
they have completely lowered the barrier to entry for people to be able to stream their stuff now, and this is opening up streaming and the watching of streams to people who are mostly console gamers in the same way that last generation they opened up online gaming
Yes.
to those people, where they made it easy and accessible, and it wasn't something that they ever really realized that they wanted to do.
But once they get that taste,
But it's right there, and it takes nothing to do it. And when it's that simple, everyone does it. And yeah, that is, I think you're right, one of the biggest achievements for them this generation.
It is, and I think it's going to become the achievement of that generation. It's going to become
A defining characteristic of this generation.
Exactly. Achievements, I think, was an early one from that one. I believe multiplayer kind of overtook that with the way that they did, with the way that almost every game had to incorporate some multiplayer aspect. But I think streaming will be a part of it. And for the fact that Microsoft was not able to get their streaming up and running for their Xbox One, I think it's a big deal for them not to be able to do that. They've got a Twitch app, which will let you watch streams.
Yeah.
So I could watch people play PS4 games. Actually, you can watch people play also Xbox One games who have it set up that they can do that. You can actually stream your Xbox One. You just can't do it directly from the console itself like you can the PS4. You have to have some extra equipment in order to do that.
Yeah.
And the fact that they missed the boat, I think, is a big deal. Hopefully, they'll get that in as quick as they can. I mean, I'm
sure
not.
they will.
Yeah, I am not sitting here saying that one is better than the other, even though I've got a broken one and one that works. I'm not saying that any of them are better than the other. I think, honestly, when it comes down to it, especially later on in their lives, and I'm not talking very, very far later on in their lives, I think it becomes the games that really define the system.
It is very interesting, though, to watch how things have
This
played
is
out
great.
early on.
I love this.
Because, but I mean, both systems have their problems right now, and they're both working, furiously and feverishly to get both systems up to 100% of what they should be. Regarding the Xbox One, though, since that's the release that just happened that we're talking about, it turns out a lot of the rumors shortly before launch were true, that it has a lot of problems with its voice setup and the chat systems, that people are having trouble doing cross-game chat from one game to another, that essentially just dies and drops. That there's some problems with the snap feature.
Yeah.
And other things.
And again, I really wish I could have. I wish we could have done what we were planning on doing, so that we could show the promises and show the faults and show the problems.
For a lot of people, give them a first glimpse, because a lot of people like myself who didn't have one, that'll be the first time we'll be able to see it. So maybe next time.
I know. I really wish. I wish that it was a case that we could have done that. But I'm glad that I went through and did what I had to do in order to go through support and get everything done. I got that out of the way. I would hate to start doing that after the show and waiting in line to get to somebody in chat to talk about this thing. I'm glad I got it out of the way.
Well, imagine if you would have found out that it ate your discs while we're actually doing the show.
Yeah, well, no, I would have loved to have put that in there and said, here's the problem. I mean, you would have had that. But like I said, we got the YouTube video up, so I mean, it's right there, so you can actually see it happening. I sent them a link in the chat, not in our chat, but when I was talking to support, I sent them a link to the video, and I was like, this is what it's doing. I don't know if this helps you. And they're like, we can't open links to third-party websites. And I was like, well, it's there, so you can see what exactly is going on. To find out. Something else that we got in the news there, Xbox One sales pass 1 million in the first 24 hours. It's a great achievement, passing 1 million sold in the first 24 hours. Sony did the same thing. I don't know if did they do it in 24 hours? Was
they
it
did.
24 hours?
I don't know the time frame, but that essentially means that both systems
Yeah, it did. It sold
passed a million units
in 24 hours.
Which that means each one had essentially record-breaking launch sales. No one has ever passed 1 million units at launch before.
400 a pop and 500 a pop, and then multiply that by 1 million.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yikes.
And from what we've found out, that it cost Sony $381 to make the PS4.
Well, that's an estimate.
Is that okay?
That's somebody did a tear down and estimated the cost of each of those components, and said they estimate that cost $381 to put together. Now, what that does not include is research and development and marketing and associated costs, which means that in the end, Sony internally associates a much bigger cost to it than $381 because they have to make back everything they put into marketing and research.
Well, then you got research and development and everything else. Yeah,
there's a lot of people that have to be paid for all that. So, they're certainly taking a loss on each unit once everything's said and done.
But they're not taking as big a loss, I believe, as it was for the PS3. That system costs like $800 to make.
Wow.
I think it was quite. They were losing like $200 at least.
But
per
again,
console.
with the PS3 and the 360, that's trying to get new tech into houses that didn't have high def televisions, didn't have Blu-ray players. That's like the introductory tech. Whereas now, most houses have HD TVs or some sort of Blu-ray players already. So it's like, we already know that's established tech. So hopefully that would cut down on the costs. as opposed to trying to convince people to,
That doesn't
adopt.
affect Sony or Microsoft's cost of the console, though.
But as like what Blu-ray's how many years old now?
Are you talking about the cost of the tech that they put into the console?
Yeah.
Oh,
And that-
well, there.
you know,
That's completely up to them, though, how much they want to spend to put in those systems. And this is essentially the first generation of consoles where the hardware in the console was less powerful than an existing PC at the time. So they did dial it back as far as the what they were putting in there.
But going back to those numbers that sold, you have to look a little bit closer into that. Sony launched in North America, in the United States and Canada. That's it. Those are the only two
It's two
regions.
countries.
That's all they've launched in, and they sold past 1 million sold within or around 24 hours. Same as Microsoft. However, Microsoft launched in 11 other countries at the same time and hit that mark. So Microsoft got it into the same amount of hands, just spread over a much wider net of people. Likely to have to do with probably that price tag. Likely to have to do with some of that messaging that got messed up and mixed and everything else.
I'm sure that didn't help.
Yeah, likely also having to do with the amount of exclusives that they were able to secure just in the last few bits of the 360, which not very many. I mean, in the last year of the PS3, and which is still going on now, you had Beyond Two Souls, very high-profile game. Last of Us, very high-profile game. GT6, which is coming up, very high-profile game. That was all within the last year of the system to be able to release those things. So, what were you going to say?
I was trying to remember when it was Microsoft announced how many countries they were launching in.
They want to say they announced it at E3 and then they pulled back.
Yeah, I think you're right.
They announced a huge number at E3, and then later on they said, we got to adjust that.
All right. That being the case, I'm reluctant to attribute the number of the number of countries they launched in being related to how many they thought they could sell in the States exactly.
Well, they launched in Australia, Austria, Brazil, Canada, France, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Mexico, Spain, the UK, New Zealand, and the U.S.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting, though, because the system seems so North American-centric in so many of its features that they would target such a wider launch than Sony. What I also think is interesting is that them selling 1 million, just like Sony sold 1 million, means that they were able to manufacture just as many units as Sony was. Remember, there were a lot of reports that they were having trouble manufacturing as many units as they wanted to, which is why they contracted from something like 21 countries to 13 initially. But they still managed to get 1 million units out the door.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much they were shooting for to begin with.
And it'll be interesting to see how they're able to keep that stock going, if at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
that it? Is it done until, when's the next shipment supposed to be? Are those all secured by other people in line for pre-orders? That sort of situation? What's the case going to be as far as how well are they going to be able to keep these stocked? Which, of course, then drives...
there'll be two things at play here. One will be, will Sony and Microsoft how well will they be able to meet demand for their respective systems? And how much demand will there be for each respective system? At some point, there's one of those numbers is going to pull away from the other one, I would expect, based on either demand or their ability to meet demand. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to watch in the coming months. Sales numbers.
Smelton brings up a good point. Here's something to think about. Think about these poor parents and grandparents who bought their kids an Xbox One, who at Christmas morning open it up to either hear that disk drive grinding sound or have a 300+ meg patch that you must get to play. That thing will not do anything without an update.
Yeah, he also mentions that his people who don't even have internet. So
Yeah,
Well, to be fair, all the systems have giant patches on out of the box.
they do. However, I believe Well, no, your PS4 doesn't do hardly. I think your PS4 will still play a game though.
It will still play a game, but to do most of the stuff on it, you still need a
Yeah,
giant
Mine
patch.
had to, in order to play the Need for Speed, I had to patch it off the game disc. So the game disc had a bigger patch than was originally on the system, but it just pulled it off the disc and then patched it that way.
And the Wii U had a 1 gigabyte day
That's
one
true.
patch.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right that there's going to be some disappointed kids come Christmas morning when their Xbox One opens up and it makes that sound.
It sounds such a horrible noise. Yeah. Anyway.
Ringtone.
Yeah. When we come back, we'll have the last segment here of In-Game Chat. We will be right back. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. I like how Deroku says he calls it the death rattle.
That's a good description.
That's a great description.
Yeah.
That should catch on.
I'm going to start calling it that now.
Yeah, the death rattle.
Yeah.
He's coined it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You really enjoy having that at your fingertip to play, don't you?
I know. It's a good thing it's only 4 seconds long and not any longer because I'd be clicking that thing all the time. But let's see. Moving on. Looking at the chat room. Well, for one, during the commercial break, you saw Matt start opening up his PS4, and Jeremy now has got his. This is the first. We've had a PS4 controller and a system in this studio. We've had a controller in here twice, the system in here once. Both times, Jeremy was not able to be in here. So this is his first time messing around with a PS4 controller.
What do you think?
I like the way it feels.
It does
feels to
feel-
be a little bit wider, which
Yeah.
feels nice to me. I don't really have an opinion yet on the thumbsticks. I think I'd actually have to play a game with them to form an opinion. The triggers are clearly an improvement over the weird Trogger mess that the PS3 had. But they're still, in my opinion, not as nice as the 360 triggers or the PS3 add-on triggers that you would put on to extend and make it concave instead of convex.
Yeah.
I imagine, like most controllers, I'd acclimate to it over time and find it completely natural. But that's my initial impression.
I know me and James went nuts for the fact that the controller has a speaker and some of the audio comes out of that speaker on the controller. And Ravenlock, Eric sent us an email and said, I know you guys love that stuff and not to be one of these
Yeah.
guys, but
The Wii did that.
the Wii did that in
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
2006. Not
Yeah,
as
it's-
good, obviously, but
It's funny that you mentioned that because while I was watching the show last week, I was thinking about that. Now it is a
I
little bit
remember
different
Zelda
to be
did that.
to be fair. Like
I'd totally forgotten. I had a Wii, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
totally
yeah.
forgot it did that.
the Wiimote did play sounds through it, but they had to be like short sound clips. Because I think if I remember correctly, the way it worked, it would preload sound clips into the controller and then play them at the appropriate times.
Yeah.
It couldn't stream audio to the controller.
Which I'm guessing is what is happening here for the PS4 because you can set all audio to come through the headset.
Right.
Or you can just set the game audio or the specific type game audio to come through the headset. You can't select what audio comes, what specific audio comes through, but you can either have it work as a headset, which means multiplayer voices come in through the earbuds,
Okay.
or you can have all of it come in through the earbuds. Otherwise, it's just select portions of games that utilize that feature to talk to you. Resogun is the first one you'll notice it, and actually the Playroom is another one that you'll sort of notice it in, but it really doesn't stick out until you play Resogun.
Okay.
I have not played any other games other than Need for Speed, and nothing comes out through the controller while playing Need for Speed Rivals.
He also wanted to point out that the Wii U does does the same thing, in that you can play things like audio logs
Right,
through
right.
the controller speaker on the Wii U.
Yeah,
so it
that,
works
like, yeah,
in the
and-
same fashion, streaming the audio through.
Yeah, in Arkham City, all the
It is a really nice feature. I love the idea of listening to audio logs through the controller.
I think
speaker.
it's great.
That would be
I'm-
fantastic.
I'm looking forward to other games utilizing that aspect of the
like
controller.
Bioshock,
Yeah.
whenever you get,
No, exactly. Bioshock was one. He used Batman as an example. Arkham City, when you hear the thugs, everything that comes through Batman's communications through his headset comes out of the Wii U controller. I'm not sure what that's called. If it's just called a Wii U controller.
Yeah, we got a comment in the chat room. You're right, dude. Says for horror games, especially, that would be a good.
oh
aspect
man, just
of,
like a little
That
creepy
was-
every now and then.
Yeah.
Sounds.
I never played it, but I've heard several people mention that Silent Hill on the Wii made really good use of that, where it would make that static radio noise through the controller.
Oh,
Yeah.
and then the controller gets thrown.
Just switching around here, Smelton says, here's a problem. People are reporting that you must have your Xbox One turned on to even watch TV through your cable box. Xbox One does not support HDMI pass-through. You know what? I didn't even try to turn the... well, no, you're absolutely right. If the Xbox One is turned off, nothing displays. Your screen's black. It
So
does not.
everything has
You know,
to go through it.
You know what that reminds me of?
What?
Do you remember last generation when some environmental groups got upset about certain systems not going into a very good low power state, that they still consumed
Yeah.
a bit too much energy? I think the Wii in particular was one. When it
I
was
remember that.
connected to
I don't
Wi-Fi.
I don't specifically remember the console or the brand that they were targeting for that
Right.
situation, but I do remember something about
And
that.
from what I understand, they worked with the companies and got the situation improved. But I can imagine this being another sticking point in the terms of energy consumption in the home. Like, not only do you have to have your TV and your cable box on, but if you're
No.
running it through the Xbox One, your Xbox also has to be on.
I want to say that's the case because I remember turning things off, and my DVR would still be on, or switching some of my inputs to kind of when I was trying to test out the system. I wasn't specifically testing this feature, but if memory serves, my DirecTV box was on and my Xbox was off, and I was not getting an image. I was not getting a picture. I wasn't getting audio either.
Yeah. I imagine at some point, I'll end up with an Xbox One, probably after I end up with a PS4.
Yeah.
Just based on how I feel right now about the systems. But when I do, I can't imagine I'm actually going to run my TV through my Xbox One. I don't feel like I gain anything from using voice commands to control my TV. I'm perfectly content with my TV set up the way I have it right now. And also I have no desire to have another thing on all the time. I do try to keep my energy consumption pretty low in my house to keep my electric bill kind of low.
Yeah.
And while I like having my PC on all the time, I've taken to cutting it off because it takes a fair amount, and I've been shutting other things off and trying to find ways to get other things to shut off more. So I don't really think I'm game for that.
Well, the big thing this generation is sleep mode.
Yeah.
Because your PS4 will not do anything. If your PS4 is turned off, it will not do anything in the background.
No
It shuts
updates.
everything
No,
off.
yeah.
If it's in sleep mode, it's got that nice little amber glow on the strip on the side of the console, and it'll download updates, patches, things like that. It'll sync with the server. It'll do what it has to do. That's really nice to have. Plus, it's a great way to just pick up the controller and turn the thing on and go into a quick way to get to the system. That's another thing. The Xbox One, there is no... When you turn off your PS4, you get the option to go standby or turn it off.
Yes.
That is not available to you for the Xbox One.
Is it just standby?
It is just standby. If you say Xbox turn off, it pops up and says, hey, is this what you want to do? You say yes, it turns off. This means, and there was a setting that I turned off in the initial setup, where if you walk into a room and Kinect sees you, it will turn on. Like, I don't want that. Why do you think the arrogance of this? Why do you, which I suppose not arrogance, just business, but why do you think that if I walk into a room, I'm doing it because I want to mess with you? Why do you think that? Why do you think that, obviously it's living room mind share, I guess, that they want to take control over, obviously with the TV connections and everything else, but I said no.
I just don't want it watching me all the time.
Well, I didn't care that it was watching me. It's just I don't want you to turn on unless I actually want to play. So, no, turn that feature off. However, I can still walk into the room and say Xbox on, and it turns on. It's a really cool feature. So the system turns on, and then it recognizes that I'm there, that sort of situation. But when I turn it off, it goes into a sleep mode. The boot up time from the time of saying Xbox on to the time it gets to the main screen, the main dashboard, it's quick.
Okay.
Almost instantaneous. However, when you cycle it down, which is basically holding the power button, again, there is
For a
no
couple of
button. There is no
seconds.
button. It's a touch feature, but when you hold that for 5 seconds, it will completely shut off. And no amount of words that you say out loud will turn that system on. You can hit the home button on the controller to power it on that way, or you can hit the button on the console in order to turn it on. The boot up time for that is absurdly long.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Like, how long?
about a minute or so,
Whoa.
which feels like a very long time.
Yes.
It's so long, in fact, that you're like, were we broke? You sit there and
You
wonder.
start questioning.
Yeah,
It is sit there and count it out second by second. Yeah, it is a long time.
it really is. It feels like about a minute. I really didn't time it. I just know that it is significantly longer. It's longer than what it takes for my PS4 to do that from power down to come on, and also when it's in a sleep state. So
Are you thinking about upgrading the hard drive on your PS4?
I am, yeah.
I'm looking at getting a hybrid.
Well, my thought is, I plan eventually to have 2 PS4s, one at the other location I'm at every other week, and then one at the house. And so I plan on having 2 of those. And I thought, well, God, if I spend a ton of money on trying to upgrade the drive, which one am I going to put it in? This means I'm going to have to upgrade 2 drives.
Both, yeah.
However, and I started to talk about this earlier when you were talking about your PS4, and I said we'll get to that later. I've only seen this at Best Buy, and it's by their little generic brand company that makes this stuff, Rocketfish, which I don't really put a lot of weight in, just because it's generic brand type stuff or whatever. But this is the only one that I've seen. They make a PS4 backpack that holds your PS4, your camera, your PlayStation camera,
Yeah.
controllers. It will hold a full head. My Turtle Beaches that I use, it holds that. It's got a compartment for that. Got a compartment for your games, for all your cables. It's got a compartment for your Vita.
It's just a little
It's
to-go
great.
bag.
It's
All right.
great. So I was like, so I picked this up. I picked that up the same day I picked up our new camera.
How much was it?
It's $70.
Okay.
What happened
Cheaper
wa-
than another system.
Right. Before you get the idea that I'm just throwing Mr. Moneybags around here, it turns out that I had a gift card from last Christmas. That I was up to checkout, and I was like, how much is this? I was just buying the camera. And the camera was like they price matched it with Amazon because the camera was $80 and Amazon was $70.
Okay.
So they price matched it with Amazon, and I was like, okay, that's great. I get my card, and I have this Best Buy Christmas gift card, and I'm like, there's probably like $5 on this. I was like, could you, if there's anything on this, will you apply it? She's like, there's $50 on this thing. I said, oh. In that case, so I ran over and I got the other, I got the carrying bag, the backpack. And I said, here, throw that in with it. And so we did that. And I said, do you know if I have any reward points? Can you look at that from here? She's like, yep, you got $10 in reward points. I was like, throw that on there as well. And so, yeah, I got some great discounts on that thing. And that's why I got both the camera
Okay.
and the bag as well. But I used it tonight. And,
Can I make a suggestion?
what?
Get a second HDMI cable and a second power cable. It will make moving your system between the 2 places a lot easier.
Well, I don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
Actually.
It's a different power cable than the PS3, correct?
No. Well, depends on which version of the PS3 you have.
Okay.
Which one do you have currently?
The one that came with Metal Gear Solid. I forget,
Do you have the fat or the slim?
the fat.
Then you will need a new power. Well, it comes with a new power cord, but you'll need
Yeah.
to replace the power cord. If you've got the Slims,
It's the same.
any versions of the Slims, the Slim that was slot fed, I think, and the Slim that's just the drive at the top or whatever, It's the same. If you have a Vita, it's the same as your charging cable for the Vita.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the 2-prong power system. Unfortunately, for the people who own the fat PS3s, those were
Three.
There were the 2 prongs with the ground. Yeah, there was the 3 prongs, and so you couldn't use those. So I'm okay with that, and the HDMI cable I'm okay with because I've already got the PS3 hooked up there with an HDMI.
Okay. So you just plug it in there.
Yeah, all that stuff was fine. Although with a PS3 now or with a PS4, it comes with an HDMI cable, so I do have extra. And the Xbox One, I will say this: the Xbox One. The power brick is smaller than the power brick used for the 360 before the Elite version. I'm not exactly sure what the names of those 360s are called.
Yeah.
But the power brick is smaller. Cable is different, it seems. It adds another prong. The cable that I have will still fit the power brick, but it just has the extra, the extra hole there for the ground that's not there. I didn't want to chance it, so I just used the cable that came with it.
Yeah.
And when I was hooking this thing up, because I knew I was going to be unhooking it to bring to the studio, I didn't do all the wiring. I didn't do all the routing of the cables or anything. I just kind of left it out in the open because I knew I was going to have to pack it up and bring it back, which I'm really glad I did now that I have to send the whole system back.
Sure.
So
I'm planning on upgrading my PS4 hard drive. In the chat room, Nab is saying that I should go with the Seagate solid state, 1 terabyte. It's just the price of those are just.
the Seagate solid state 1 terabyte, I believe, is like $500 or $600.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money, and it's up to you. There's a great thread, and we talked about this last week, I believe. There's a great thread on GAF, NeoGAF, that has a bunch of member support as far as like people buying drives, putting them in, giving the times of boot ups, from using the different drives. And there's a chart. They made a Google chart of what drive, how much it cost, and the times for.
That's pretty excellent.
Yeah, and so you can see kind of where you want to go with it and the way you want to do that. So that's one of the ways to do that. We had a question in there for RJ in the chat room, and I'm going to go back to it. Do you remember what that question was? Something about the controller in fighting games.
Yeah, I think you had a question about
the benefit of the controller audio for fighting games. Do you have any input on that?
I was trying to think of maybe a type of an audio cue to let you know when, as wanting a lot of fighting games, super meters, different type of meters when they're fully charged or
That's
at a
good
halfway
use for it.
point or
Yeah.
something like that. Because if you're focused on your character on the screen, you have to like look away to see how much meter you have or something along those lines. It'll be keep your focus on what's going on the screen. Just get a little audio cue to let you know you've got extra abilities available if need be. That's the
Okay.
only one I can think of offhand right now.
Yeah.
Maybe like a heartbeat, like for as you take more damage, it gets more sporadic and.
I don't play fight-
You
I don't-
feel it. You
yeah.
just feel that.
Oh, yeah,
but as an
true.
audio cue, you just.
I don't play fighting games very much, but I'm pretty sure any fighter is very aware on their health.
So yeah, health and whatnot. But I'm talking
But on those super meters, I know those are a little bit
like that?
different.
Yeah, something like that.
So,
yeah.
Nabokov was making a correction. It's not what you were telling me. The solid state version, the complete solid state drive. That's a
Yeah,
terabyte,
those are
that's
expensive.
huge.
Yeah.
He's talking about the hybrid drive.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a different story. And again, check out that thread.
definitely.
We don't have a break coming up, but as soon as we do, I'll find that thread and I'll post a link in the chat room so people can go to that and check that out. But that's a good one to see if you want to upgrade your drive. Again, you can do that on the PS4. You cannot on the Xbox One. However, the Xbox One does support external hard drives.
Yeah.
Something again I did not try out. The testing on this system pretty much came to a halt
Stopped.
whenever that happened to me. And
The grinding sound.
yeah, I'm not going to play it again.
Yeah.
I might.
No, yeah, you're probably gonna get requests on that one for ringtones and whatnot. or something. in a
Oh
minute.
God, that's a horrible ringtone.
From somebody you don't like. You hear that from somebody you don't like? Yeah, you know not to pick it up.
That would be that's it's a horrible sound. It's not. I was going to say this. Here's the situation again. Going back to something that I didn't elaborate on, but said that I would. Love the memory I have here. We were talking about damaging the disc.
Yes.
It doesn't. However, for as many times as customer support was making me put that disc in and having it do that, when I pulled it out, I did see some marks around the edge of the disc. Didn't look like scratches. They looked more like smudges. And I wish I could have brought the disc. I should have brought the disc in so you guys could see it and think about that. But I had to do this before I started videotaping it. I did it twice, and then when I videotaped it, I think I did it 2 more times. And then in the process of going through the and I did everything she said. I didn't pause for 30 seconds and say, yeah, I went and did that. It didn't work. I did everything that they told me to do.
Yeah.
Just to make sure, number one, that they couldn't look and see that I hadn't done any of that. So it's just like, better check and make sure. So I did everything that they told me to do, because the first question they ask is, what is your gamer tag? Once they get that from me, and they've already got my account information, they
have
whatever.
your info pulled up.
They have my info. So I went through every process they did. So I put that disc in about 4 more times. And I remember looking at it midway of that or so, and I was like, there's some smudges on the edge of the disc. Maybe scratches from where this drive has been, making that horrible sound, doing whatever it is that it's doing. So a few times it doesn't look like it does anything bad, but any more than that, it seems like it might be actually damaging the disc. So be careful. Will we see drive swapping for those big game libraries in this gen? You know what? I don't know. That was Yeah Right Blood in the chat room asking that question. I'm not exactly sure. You can do it for the PS4, and it's great. I like the fact that I can upgrade that drive. 500 gigs is not very much when you start to talk about all the games that you're going to be getting. The fact that they're day one digital as well, available on the PlayStation Store. The Xbox One has 500 gigs as well. It's interesting to note that, again, I need to preface everything I say by saying how much time I spent with the Xbox One. Not very much, but it's interesting to note that I could not find anything that told me drive allocation. I could not find anything to say, here's how much space you have left.
Okay.
Very much easy to do. It's very easy to do on the PS4. Go into settings and look at that.
Yeah.
Seemed not as easy to do on the Xbox One, if at all. There was no way to go into something like that and say, hey, games are taking up this much space, apps are taking up this much space. I couldn't find anything like that. You could uninstall apps, which I'm assuming is the same way you could uninstall games. Just go to that app, you hit the menu button. None of these controllers have start buttons anymore. They have share and they have menu, options, things like that. None of them have a start button anymore. But you hit the menu button and it brings up a list of options that you can do. Pin the app to home, uninstall the app, and it tells you the size of that app that you want to uninstall. So plenty of options to do that with, but nothing that gives you a nice big overview of how much space is left on your drive and what is using all that space. That's for the Xbox One. I'm sure websites and other people have gone through this and really found out how you can do that, if it's even there. I just want to let people know who are listening to my testimonial on this is that I just didn't have a lot of time with the Xbox One to really dig into this thing. So anyway, anything else before we wrap this up? I really appreciate everybody joining us in the chat room. Once again, James has work commitments and will be for most of the holiday season, but we'll try and get him on in some pre-recorded segments, maybe do some video segments and stuff like that, now that we've got this wonderful camera that shows the entire studio. And we'll try and fix that as we go along. But thanks everybody in the chat room for showing up. We really do appreciate it. I know we had promised to show you Xbox One dashboard and everything there, but
you did caveat that and say unless.
Yeah,
you were
I
really
did, didn't
unlucky.
I?
You did.
Man, good thinking on my part.
You jinxed it.
I did jinx it. Well, I said it for the PS4 too, and I didn't have a problem. I didn't have a problem with it. But anyway, thanks everybody for joining us in the chat room, as well as everybody listening on the stream and on the radio as well. Thanks to everybody who grabs us each week from iTunes or however you get our show for later use. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to join us on Twitter, Facebook, our forums at colonyofgamers.com. Also, our thread that we got over at NeoGAF as well. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're on Steam, we have got a Steam group that you can join up with over there. Play games with us and other listeners. So thanks, everybody. We will see you next Saturday.